it's my great pleasure to have Storme Reeves here with us today. And Storme is a musician, an artist, and mother, and composer, and a counsellor, and a health therapist, and all kinds of good stuff. And Storme's going to tell us a little bit about herself, introduce herself, and the work that she's doing. And this interview is going to really cover off the stresses on the individual. And Storme has kindly offered to, well, at my request, admittedly, but she's kindly offered to, to talk about her experience. So in other words, the stresses within herself and how she's actually working to manage those stresses within herself. So thank you, Storme. I wonder if you could just introduce yourself a bit more for us.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Yeah, just as you mentioned, I do sound therapy in combination with the counselling and life coaching, spiritual coaching, along with some sound acupuncture and so on. So energy work, frequency work. You're wanting to get some stuff from the inside from everyday people. So that's in your introduction there of being a mother and family person and all the rest of it. So yeah.
Okay, so tell us a bit about your journey. So what led you to be a sound healer? Like, how did you end up in that place?
I bought my first Tibetan altar bowl when I was about 20 years old. And even though I was doing lots of other things like studying opera and then writing songs and like pop folk music and recording albums and so on, I kind of was very drawn to in general to sound and music, but to the more healing side of things when I bought that bowl. And I used to go to workshops and things, and I did my Reiki 1 degree, and then I did my 2nd Reiki degree, and then I just progressed on. So after I had my daughter, I just began on a self-development journey by listening to lots of books. I love audiobooks and meditation, being quite serious about meditation. And then I did a series of courses and trainings with the sound therapy, learning to do sound acupuncture and toning. And I mainly work with harmonies, so different intervals with the sounds and with my voice. So I do the singing with that. But I'm very sensitive to a lot of things, and sound is one of them, and it's just obviously it affects everybody. Sound does, and music, and so I was just very, very intrigued and went on the path to learn how to use it to help people. Yeah. Okay,
cool. So tell me, you're just mentioning that you've been out for a drive out into the wilds of the population. So tell me, what are you seeing out there? What's happening around you?
You just actually cut out, but I think I got your question. So yeah, we went out to get some mulch for our veggie garden. My daughter and I, because she's home from school as per the school's request, and it's really, really quiet out there. But yeah, there's like barely any cars, and so it's pretty easy going, really, to get around.
Not too stressful, yeah. Not too stressful. And what's your your sense, your feeling about what's going on? Like, you talk about it being very quiet in your local community, but we're all connected through the internet, and everybody's on Facebook and everything else. So what's your interpretations? What's your understanding about what's happening worldwide at the moment?
It's just a whole lot of fear in general, and obviously, you know, which is, it's very obvious it's fear, and it's obvious that people are panicking. And it's making people do things that I'd say that they wouldn't ordinarily do, but I'd say that they would ordinarily control themselves not to do. But when the pressure's on, it comes out, and it's already there anyway. I think people are behaving badly.
Okay, so in your general observation is that people are behaving badly, and they're obviously in fear and panic and these types of things. So tell me about you know, what you would say from yourself, like with your own experience, about the response to that. So you've got this fear and this panic in the environment, you know, particularly what's coming through the social media and what you might be getting from other family members and that type of thing. And so what's that doing to you? How's it actually impacting on your inner journey, what you're doing yourself?
Well, I believe that the virus, like if you're looking at everything is, so, you know, when I work with clients and they have anything, you know, any mental illnesses or physical illnesses, and you look at everything that is to do with it. So it's not just that they've got a sore toe. Obviously, it's that it has a lot of how they did it and what was happening when that happened, and anything epigenetics, you know, things passed on. It's got a whole lot to do with a whole lot of stuff. And so does the virus. So I think, you know, my belief is that the virus has a message for us, and it's sort of, it's almost like a duality. It's saying here's an opportunity for us to connect and cooperate and work together, and also, so not be separate. And I think that, you know, selfishness, which is the majority of what we're actually seeing at the moment with the fear. And I think the organic process is for people to actually find that spark of wanting to cooperate and actually care about their neighbours and the other people down the street, and then in the next suburb, and so on and so forth, and actually do practical things for them. And, you know, as we're seeing with this with the toilet paper thing in Australia, which is just funny. But, you know, I've been going into the shops because everybody needs food and toilet paper. And then we were joking the other day that maybe Viagra would go out as well and there wouldn't be any left. That could be the flip side, you know, it's like, anyway. So when I went to the supermarket, everybody's pushy, shovey, you know, get out of my way kind of energy. And it's actually, you know, it's kind of trepidatious sort of feeling. It's, but yeah, one experience I did have was standing in front of one lady who was just putting bag of flour after bag of flour after bag of flour in her trolley. And there's heaps of people there. And they were the last few bags of flour, and I was standing there thinking, do I say something? Very aware. I didn't want to participate in that yet. I thought it was wrong, you know, what she was doing, so I had a judgment about that. But I just didn't say anything because I didn't want to fight like the other people were. I was just like, okay. We don't need any flour. Maybe there'll be some next week, you know. But then the other experience was I was waiting in the queue and I was just about to be able to pay for my shopping. And a friend of mine asked for some coffee on the message. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm in a serious situation here because I've got a whole lot of angry shoppers behind me and I don't want to hold up the line. And once more, I wasn't quite sure what he was asking for in particular. And so I quickly ran to the aisle and had a look, and then grabbed the wrong thing, and then came back and then asked the man behind me. I said, "Oh, is this instant coffee, or is this, my friend's asking for ground coffee and I don't drink coffee and I don't really know what that is." And he's going, "Oh no, that's instant coffee. You've got to get this." And he explained, you know, anyway. But as I ran back again, I was just got a glimpse of these people in the queue behind me, and the looks on their faces were like, you know, I was going to be mobbed. It was like, how dare you make us? It wasn't my turn yet. Anyway, and I said to the guy, if a spot comes up, you just go ahead and I'll just go in behind you. So I wasn't really going to hold anybody up. But they were looking at me like, you're making us stay here longer than we have to. And what are you doing? And they're so scared. Anyway, my observation was, and eventually the guy actually said, "Look, I'll get it." And he went off and he got me the coffee. And so it was such a nice, spontaneous experience of cooperation. And my observation was that he really wanted the opportunity to cooperate. He didn't want to be standing there fearful, wanting to push, shove like the majority of people there. And he just really, he wanted, it's like he almost didn't, like a lot of people I suspect out there don't know, where do you go from being in a state of panic and fear. People don't actually know. And for him, he caught it. He went, "Oh," I triggered it in him, and he went, "Yeah, I want to help. I don't want to be a part of this thing." And he did. So I think that's what is got to happen if we're going to come through.
So look, that's you know, a wonderful piece of advice. And my next question to you is, you know, 2 or 3 things that people can do themselves to actually you know, bring themselves through the panic and the fear that you're identifying. So you know, practices that they could take, or you know, is it just a matter of waking up when you're in the queue at the supermarket? Like, is it as simple as that, or are there, you know, more complex things that you could suggest to people?
I think it is very much like walking meditation. So, and that would be like a mindfulness, I suppose. And yeah, like you said, it would be try to be as mindful and connecting as possible. So when you go out, look at the person in front of you, say hello. Like, they might, doesn't mean that you don't have fear inside yourself. Like I've noticed that. We had a lady across the road got taken in the ambulance the other night, and we're all in the house going, "Oh my God, she's got the coronavirus." Quick, hide. No, not really. We send her messages to say, "Is there anything we can do to help? Do you need us to look after the kids, the dog, or whatever?" But she was okay. But on the same token, I was very aware that I was also fearful, and I was thinking, "Oh, should I be doing that and walking over there? Am I going to endanger my family?" But it's not to me. But that's the mindfulness. So using that as an example, you see that you've got the fear there, and then you see what's most practical, and then I think you go with your intuition, pretty much, and you offer the help, and then you work around it the way that you can do it. I don't think it should be cut off.
Okay.
So mindfulness, mindful awareness. When you're going to the supermarket, do you really need 4 bags of flour, or have you already got one at home? Do we really have a world shortage of food? No. You know, like, do we have a shortage of dog biscuits? No. Toilet paper, blah, 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 blah. So it's actually just snapping out of it and waking your mind up.
Okay.
And just, yeah.
So tell me a practice that you would actually employ there. You can feel the fear in yourself. You're not fighting against the fear. You can feel it. You can observe it. You can watch it. What's the practice then for somebody when they're at the supermarket counter and they can feel all this aggression around them? What do they do? What do they do at that moment?
I would definitely, in alignment with the Heart Math Institute in California, do some heart brain coherence breathing. So I would do breathing into the heart area. I would come out of here into the heart, and that is just taking nice slow breaths but mindful breaths. So I'm breathing in. And it's almost like, and if you can put your hand over your heart, no one will probably notice anyway, you know, or not, but you breathe into the heart and you breathe out of the heart, and you do as many of them. You're probably going to be waiting in a queue, so you might as well. So rather than being on your phone madly texting or trying to avoid people or worrying, the breathing, it's not going to stop you. If you're going to get the virus, you're going to get the virus, is my opinion. And standing there freaking out about it, it's not going to change the outcome. But you might actually change the outcome if you're really present and you're doing your breathing and you're staying connected. That's more of a chance, in my opinion.
Sure. So like you're saying, coming out of your head and coming into your heart, you know, as being the practice that you recommend there. What role does logic play in all of this? You know, if we think about, you know, you're in Western Australia and, you know, we grow wheat here for flour for half of the world. Like we have a tremendous production of wheat flour within, you know, 50 kilometres of you. And so like rationally, there is no possibility that there will be a shortage of flour for anybody in our supermarkets. 2/3 of all of the food in Australia is exported. It's not possible for Australia to actually run out of food. We just can't run out of food. There's just so much food. And as for toilet paper, every single toilet roll that's actually used in Australia is manufactured here. It's all grown here and manufactured here. So logic would say it is not physically possible for an Australian to run short of toilet paper or food. It's just not possible. However, what you're identifying, which I think is really interesting and useful, is that, you know, maybe remembering that up here, just remembering the logic might help, but there's more to it than that. There's more to that response than just actually having some logic. It requires something else, and you're identifying it as a connection to the heart.
Yes, because I think it's pretty standard understanding that if we're always in our mind, the tendency to become neurotic is just click your fingers. Oh, yep, there we go, and we're paranoid. And then, especially if everyone else is, and we're in the collective, collective consciousness, then you're picking up on every single bit of that. And it's so easy to just fall into it if we just, you know, go to sleep.
Okay. So we've got this kind of walking meditation approach, and combined in with this sort of heart focus. Are there other practical things that people can be doing to help them when they're at the counter, or, you know, maybe when they're at home and their teenage kids are going crazy or something like that because they're so fearful themselves and they don't know what to do and they can't coordinate with anybody else and so on? What does somebody do, you know, hold up with a bunch of other people, perhaps at home, or having to actually go out to the supermarket, or deal with work colleagues who are paranoid and so on as well? What other things can they do around managing this incoming stress that's happening within, you know, in any of those settings?
Workplace is probably a little bit of a different approach, but definitely, like in the family, I mean, on the weekend here, with the 3 children I have with my partner, you know, everyone's a bit sort of out of sorts, and, you know, the kids have got these different rules happening at school, and they can't sit right next to their friend, and they can't do this and can't do that, and it's like, and they're sitting in a classroom together. I'm like, I just think it's funny, because if they're sitting in a classroom together, it's like, and then they're not supposed, anyway, it's obviously the virus has just spread like crazy anyway. So anyway, I think that, like we did on the weekend, was to encourage cooperating and coming together with the family. So off the mobile phones for the kids, teenagers, and actually connecting. How are you today? How are you feeling? Okay. What are people saying? So they can actually express how they're feeling, and they don't feel like they just have to sort of deal with it, because they don't know, you know, how to. I mean, a lot of, obviously, the adults don't know how to deal with it. So that would be one thing. And then we all were making some vegetable gardens together. So, and, you know, doing cleaning up around outside. And I feel that just doing that all together was a really therapeutic thing to do, because it was for one cause. So it was a group of us doing something together for one cause, which is what we'd actually ideally like to happen with the virus. We don't want to all separate and get as much food as we can just for our family, and too bad for the person down the road. We actually want to come together to help all of us. Workplace would be a different thing, but same kind of idea. But I suspect that if we could remain humble in our interrelations with people, and just slow down and take some deep breaths. If somebody's doing something that's making you nervous, take some breaths before you actually respond to them. So you're not going to just be continuing that cycle of reactivity, and which ends up in fighting and animosity and all that kind of thing, and more fear.
Well, from what you've spoken to me about before, it seems as though many people that are quite close to you are pretty hair trigger. So like it's not, doesn't take a lot of stimulation, for that animosity to rise and express itself, and it doesn't take much of a stimulation for the paranoia to kick in either. So, look, if you felt as though you had, other sort of practices to share.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so I was going to say, a second thing that I do on a daily basis that I highly recommend is meditation. And it has so many benefits, but even in this regard, that when we get to meditate and just take that time with the practice that I do to actually start to feel outside of my body, feel the space, feel my connectedness to everything, so I can actually feel what it's like to be a part of a whole rather than an individual who is separate from everything else, and it's only me that's lost all my work, and it's only me that doesn't have da-da-da-da-da-da. Actually get a sense into that in meditation, like Joe Dispenza talks about. If we can do that and drop down into alpha, that is better, because the understanding's going to stay, it's going to sit a bit better than, like, obviously we're talking and we're in the beta brainwave state. So so that's very important, and it'd just be good for your health anyway. Just even if you're just doing a simple meditation, heart breathing in and out, I am breathing in your mind, I am breathing out. And if you did that for 5 minutes, you'd be pretty relaxed, I think. And obviously I've got the heart coherence meditation on my CD as well, which I'm pretty sure is on all of the digital download places. So
yeah, great. I will mention that you'll be able to gain access to these resources that Storme's talking about. There'll be links to it actually on the video on the personal webpage that will go with this video. So do look them out. It's particularly beautiful. Storme glossed over the fact that she's an opera singer, and so she has a magnificent voice. And being able to do, the sound therapy work using a voice like you've got, Storme, is, it's a bit of a treasure, really, that you've got to offer to people. There's meditations using the bowls and singing and things like that, which highly recommended to people. So I wonder if you could. So you've really quite clearly actually identified things that an individual can actually be doing. So like, this is from a place of personal suffering. So where a person's in a space of personal suffering, here's steps that I can take right now from within my suffering to actually make a difference. And it's very, very useful for people to hear that. And tell me, what would your plea be to the world today? Like, what would be the thing that you would be asking for?
Look, I just wanted to quickly mention the third thing, just with the frequency work and vibration work I do with the sound.
Yeah.
That's just, I would, if you haven't ever done any sound meditation or sound healing or any frequency healing, I would get into it because it's the future, is the light, and sound is our future medicine. We won't be having pills and things like that in the future. That's what it will be. And so you might as well do it now and get healthy. Get a clean, healthy, balanced biofield, and you will be less susceptible. So that's what I'm doing for my family here and myself and whoever's interested.
And of course, it's, you know, getting people to be able to come along to see you at the moment, given everybody's supposed to be socially isolated and so on. It all makes it a bit more of a challenge. But there are those recordings, and there's other ways that people could reach out to you and you know, make connection for these things. So,
Neil, I would say that probably of paramount importance would be acknowledge the fear inside of yourself. Number one, because even people that are out there going, oh no, hang on, would you like, they're just so full of fear and they don't want to, and but they're, oh, I'm trying to help someone else, but on an energetic level, it's still contributing. And so I suspect doing some deep breathing, you go, okay, I see the fear. I'm like everybody else. I have fear about this. And then secondly, be practical. And, you know, someone was asking me the other day, they're interested in my understanding of the consciousness and ideas and emotions and thoughts, all to do with the virus. And they said, but do you still recommend staying separate from everybody? And I said, well, practically speaking, it'll probably slow it down. You know, and if you're really, really isolated out in the middle of Australia, maybe you won't get it. I don't know. You're less likely to, but I don't think it will stop it. However, if you're standing in front of somebody who has it and they're coughing in your face, well, you know, we know what happens there. So I would say start to wake up our minds and our hearts and follow that kind of spark of what can I do? What can I do to help this process and change? What can I do for my community? And do it. And if you start to do it, people will want to do it with you, and you will inspire them to want to do that as well. And that energy behind that will get bigger and bigger, and the virus will be gone. Full stop.
The end. Okay. Well, that's fabulous, Storm. Thank you so much for speaking to us all today. As I say, Storme Reeves, based in Perth, Western Australia, or just out of Perth, and you have a clinic here that you work with, and obviously able to assist people online during this time when, you know, there's a $20,000 fine in Australia now if you congregate together, so you're not allowed to do that. But in the meantime, there's plenty of opportunities for people to reach out to you, and obviously there's the resources in terms of the you know, all of the sound recordings that you've created and so on as well. So thanks, Storm, and you know, go well with your, you know, your inner work that you're obviously so deeply engaged in. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much.